Welcome everyone to this episode of the Fired Up and Plugged In podcast powered by Emergency Reporting. This is the podcast for all 21st century fire and EMS personnel. I'm Tom Lewis, Enterprise Training Manager and the podcast producer. Our topic today is all about a very unique and successful recruiting program for high school students in Clayton County, Georgia. Joining our esteemed host, retired Fire Chief Randy Bruegman, is Landry Merkison, the Chief Resilience Officer and Director of Fire and Emergency Services for Clayton County, Georgia. Chief Merkison began his fire service career in 1992 with the City of Jonesboro. He then joined the Clayton County Fire and Emergency Services Department in 1996. He is a summa cum laude graduate of Columbia Southern University, earning a bachelor's degree in fire administration. He also earned a master's degree in business at CSU. In 2020, he was appointed by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to the Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training Council. Chief Merkison currently resides in Locust Grove with his wife of 21 years, Sandy. Welcome, Chief Merkison. Chief Bruegman, it's all yours.
Okay, well, good day, everyone, and welcome back to another session of Fired Up and Plugged In. It's my pleasure to introduce Chief Landry Merkison, Fire Chief, and actually the Chief Resilience Officer for Clayton County Fire and Emergency Services in the great state of Georgia. Welcome, Chief. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure.
Well, thank you. You know, in the 21st Century Fire and Emergency Services report that we released last year from the Center for Public Safety Excellence and the ICMA, I had the opportunity to co-chair that. And one of the 8 critical issues that were identified was inclusiveness of our organizations as we are looking not only today but into the future. And I think the program that you've developed, your pathway program, which we're going to talk about today, is just an excellent example of what an organization can do to really be an inclusive workforce, but maybe more importantly, an inclusive workforce that is reflective of the people that actually live in their community. And so I'd like to explore that with you if we could today. So, but as we begin this, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and the agency that you represent?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And what an honor it is to be here, with you to discuss what is a very important issue in the fire service. And it's not only one of inclusivity, but, diversity and trying to build an organization that is not only representative of, but made up of those who come from within your community. I was born and raised in Clayton County, where I now have the privilege to serve as fire chief. My mother and father still live here. I think every job I've ever held but one was in Clayton County. So I have a vested interest in seeing this community not only survive but thrive, and especially, its Fire and Emergency Services organization. I've been in the organization now for 25 years, been in the fire service for 28. I spent 3 years with a small municipal department, a mile and a half up from my headquarters here, City of Riverdale Fire. Was where I got my start. Before that, spent about 1.5 years with a volunteer organization, still in Clayton County, City of Jonesboro, when they still had volunteers. So, I've been in fire service and public safety in Clayton County for, the better part of my life. And as those that have had the honor to lead, an organization such as this, there's nothing else that I would rather do, or anything that I would do, moving forward. But as I said, I've been in the fire service now for going on 28, little over 29 years. Served in every position in the organization coming up, cut my teeth in the fire marshal's office as plan reviewer and new construction inspector, came up as a lieutenant, captain, head of the arson unit, then started kind of getting those special assignments from the chief at the time that kind of took me into a lot of different avenues that really ultimately led to me being chief. It broadened my horizon. It got me out of the box that I was in fire prevention. And, the chief then was an innovator in his own right, got out there, did some things that, a lot of folk weren't doing, brought in mandatory physical fitness, brought in a lot of things that, back in the time just, were still early on and being challenged, so to speak, in the fire service. So, I learned early on in my career, never be afraid to go after what just makes sense to you. and what makes sense to your organization, regardless of whether people tell you it can or can't be done. So, always look at that as a challenge accepted, kind of thing. When somebody says, I don't see that happening, or, you can't get to that point. And this program, it is a little bit of that. It's been in place now for going on 4 full years. It took me 7 to get it up and running. We gave 3 good runs at it initially with a couple different boards of educations, and never could get just the right mix of people. But like all things, in God's timing, it pans out. The right mix of people come together, and next thing you know, you create something that's changing the lives of our youth. And that's what the fire service is all about. It's getting out there and making a difference in people's lives. And I've had the honor to serve in a number of capacities in this organization. As you mentioned early on, I now serve also as the Chief Resilience Officer for Clayton County. That's a new office that the county created to look at a multitude of issues. When you look at resilience, this program is a hallmark of that. One of the things this program seeks to do is solve some of the hiring challenges that exist in the fire service. How do we continue to recruit quality? How do we continue to retain those employees that have a vested interest in your organization and are loyal to your organization? And it's kind of the advent of the 30-year employee, which seems to be a thing of the past. We tell a lot of our new hires, or when we're going through the process, if I get 5 good years out of them, I've considered it a solid hire. This program seeks to change that. It seeks to change that mentality of folk come into the organization until the next best thing comes along, and that's what we spend time on is mentoring these young folks. So, a lot of this program, and so how does that feed into resilience? Well, in order for a fire and emergency services agency to stay relevant, to stay current, to stay, up with its community and be able to provide the ever-changing demands for services that our citizens put upon us, you got to have a resilient organization. You got to have one that can withstand pandemics and not, suffer major staffing shortages. You got to have one that can withstand natural disasters. You got to have one that can withstand the natural ebbs and flows of the hiring cycle and personnel management. And that's what my office looks at from a holistic perspective across the county and across multiple different divisions of county government, whether it's policy, procedure, practice, programming, or just our infrastructure, making sure that our infrastructure is resilient to disruptions, whether man-made or natural or other. So, this program is something that I'm proud of. It's something that, I worked on since the day I was appointed chief back in 2013. And to see the change in the lives of these youth that we've made has been nothing short of phenomenal. And we can't be more proud of it. We were blessed to be recognized with your namesake award for this program. And I think it just speaks to the need in the fire service, for something like this. And the thing is it's so remarkably easy to get done. All it takes is getting a few like-minded people in the room and just say, hey, all we want to do is better the lives of our youth, and who don't want to do that? Yeah. So if somebody looks at you and says, no, you need to go find you some new people to hang out with.
Yeah. So. Well, let's talk about the program. The program is called the Clayton County Fire and Emergency Services Fire/EMS Pathway Program. And the name actually denotes exactly what it means. So could you, for our audience today, just tell us a little bit about what the Pathway Program is?
Absolutely. So the Clayton County Public School System, like a lot of public school systems, it may be called something different, depending on where you're located. But, most high school systems have career or education to career type programming. Mm-hmm. Most of it's called career technical agricultural, and engineering, or CTAE type programs. Some people call it work-based learning. There's a multitude of acronyms to describe what it is, but essentially what we do is we take high school students that have an interest in public safety, and we start speaking with them in their 9th grade year. Here in the state of Georgia, high school is 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we start at their 9th grade year, and there's an intro to public safety, law, and criminal justice course that they take. And it basically gives them a high-level overview of what it means to be in public service. What do all of these different facets of public safety do, whether it's the courts, whether it's law enforcement, dispatching, whether it's fire, EMS, what is it that these agencies are about? Mm-hmm. So they do that in their 9th grade year, and then essentially it's like having to make a college major choice, right? So there's all of these different what's called pathways that they can go down. There's a law enforcement, there's a new 911 pathway that our police department started, and then you have ours, which is fire and EMS. So what we did was we took the state of Georgia Firefighter 1 curriculum that we teach every recruit that we hire in order to get them certified in the state of Georgia, and we rewrote that curriculum and broke it down into the state of Georgia K through 12 format. So we teach firefighter recruit training over the course of their 11th grade year in high school. The important thing about this is not taught through a technical college. They're not leaving, going to a technical school. This is not after hours. This is an embedded part of their curriculum. If they do not pass our course, they do not graduate high school. And that's an important commitment that these young people take when they sign up for this, because they understand it is such a large portion of their high school education and their curriculum. So we spend their 11th grade year teaching them the state of Georgia Firefighter 1 curriculum. We worked with Georgia Standards and Training to let our young people test just prior to them going into their senior year. And then those test results are held valid for 12 months, because obviously they can't be certified until they turn 18 years of age. Their 12th grade year, what we did is we took the EMTB curriculum that's put out there, that's taught by National Registry, and we rewrote that curriculum into a K through 12 format as well. So now there's the EMTB curriculum that's out there that is based on the National Registry exam. It's available now in the K through 12 system here in Georgia. Any school system in the state of Georgia can teach it. It's not just in Clayton. But we had that passed and turned into a K through 12 course. So their senior year, they spend going through emergency medical technician at the B level. So with the sole goal of when they graduate high school, that there's a couple requirements that they have to be successful. One, you must graduate high school. We do not accept GEDs as an end goal in our program. If you drop out of high school, you drop out of our program. The end goal of this is to get our young people graduated with that high school diploma. They have to pass our course, just like everybody, any other school course. We have access into the school system grading records, and we post our grades directly into the school, just like we're a math, a history, or something else. The kids are bused from the school to our training facility, so they're a part of our organization. They're getting subjected to our disciplinary standards. They have to conform to our grooming standards, so it's just like they're recruits, but they're in high school. So it's a 3-year commitment that these kids make to this organization and to these programs, and to see their matriculation from high schooler to young adult and then public safety official is phenomenal. And then the payoff for them simply is, if they graduate high school, they pass our course, they pass Firefighter 1, and they pass their EMTB skills, then the day they graduate high school, they get a job offer from me on the stage at graduation that pays them now $44,000 a year right out of high school. They get about a 4-week break, and then they show up for their first day of work. So it's literally taking them, right out of high school and putting them at, the upper end of the middle tier of income in the county.
Yeah, that's just awesome. Now, once they enter the workforce, do they have to go through another training program before you put them online?
Absolutely. So kind of what we do with them there's certain things that the school board nor county risk management will let us do while they're in high school. Live fire training, a lot of the ladder climbing, and some of the more I guess dangerous skills that you have to do. So we're very careful and methodical about what we do with them while they're in high school. So they come back, they go through a 6-week modified program. We finish their skills assessments, we do their final testing, we get them certified through the state. We do their final EMTB testing, we do their live fire exercises with them, orient them to the county, put them through some driver's training, get them through all the insurance, everything that you would do with a typical, recruit. If we hire somebody into the organization that says comes from City of Atlanta Fire, we'll do a 4-week fast track with those employees, and then put them right out on the fire line. Well, we do a 6-week with our high schoolers. So, and these they haven't fought fire, other than the simulations we've done. So we got to make sure that they're comfortable with that, get them used to their gear now in hazardous environments and in toxic environments. So that's what we spend that 6 weeks doing, is just kind of putting the finishing touches on their training, and then they're out there on the fire line, going at it and getting to work. So
that's just amazing. And in reading the documentation on the program, I know you faced a fair amount of hurdles over those 7 years. Could you talk a little bit about that and share that experience for others that may want to consider picking up a similar type of an idea and launching it in their own organization?
Absolutely. Right out of the gate, the biggest thing is just the team, right? Getting the right collection of folk together and get them to understand, what you're doing, why you're trying to do it, and what the payoff is going to be. So once we found that right team, like I said, that was the first 4 years of trying to build this, was getting the right pieces together. Then, depending on how your state board of education is structured, getting those conversations started that says, hey, we want to take kids out of the school, we want to bring them to our facility. That is such a key portion of this program, because this isn't just teaching them fire, it's mentoring them, it's getting them acclimated to the public safety way of life, our discipline standards, what we will accept versus what may be accepted in the public school system. We found out are two different things. So that's such a key component of this, that they are here and they're present and they're around our other employees, so that they feel like they belong to this organization, and it's key in their development. That's a tremendous, I cannot put enough weight on that point of this program. And we've seen the challenges that brings in this COVID environment, because our kids have not been able to be here, on our facilities, because school has been 100% virtual. And I think that our students are suffering because of that, because they don't have that one-on-one interaction with our instructors. But just getting the school system to understand the challenges of training these young adults in fire and EMS, getting their curriculum settled, to make sure that at the end of the day, in the state of Georgia, it's my decision, or it's up to me to sign off saying that this student or this candidate meets the necessary requirements to be eligible to test. So in order for that to happen, I have to have confidence in what they're being taught, and I have to have confidence in how they're being taught, which is why, and of course, in the state of Georgia, the only people that can teach that are state certified fire instructors. So, which is a challenge to have in a school system, which is why a lot of schools don't offer this, because you can't be a state certified fire instructor unless you're affiliated with a fire department. So that kind of creates another issue. So, that's why it was so important that we embed ourselves into the school system, and just basically become an adjunct high school is essentially what we are. We're a public safety high school that teaches these kids on a daily basis. The state level buy-in was, quite frankly, a lot easier than I thought it would be. There's a hunger for these programs. And when you get into parts of rural Georgia, the State Board of Education was like, what has taken y'all so long to get here with this program? It took us 30 days on both attempts to get this curriculum approved, which just went, lightning fast. So it's a lot of stars aligned for us as we started this. And then, those last hurdles are things that the organization is going to have to figure out. Budgeting, who's going to pay for the buses to get the kids from high school to here? What does that look like? Do you send them back to school at the end of the day, or do you discharge them home? Who's paying for uniforms, books, all of that? We have a fully functioning training academy here, so that's a lot of that was already done and ready to go. We just needed students. So, but that's where that partnership between your Board of Education, your local governing body, the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, through their support behind this program on day one, and has not backed down since. Anything I need from a budgetary standpoint, they make sure that we have, because they've already seen the payoff. I have 13 high school kids that are brand spanking new employees, have been out there for probably a little close to a year now, that are performing phenomenally. So it's, we've shown the cycle can be successful. So we've been through our first 3 full year cycle. We have those graduates, they're working, they're out there serving the community. Now we're looking to getting ready to graduate our next group, pathway 2.0, kind of kids. So, it's, there's the roadblocks can be as insurmountable or as nothing as you make them. It all depends on the level of commitment that you go into building this program and why you're doing it to begin with. For me, I hate hiring. I'll just tell you, it's a tremendous waste of time. It's time-consuming process, and at times, I'm sure you well know, Chief, it can be mind-numbing. Just sifting through 600, applications, for 30 vacancies, that you may have, and it's at the end of the day, you're taking crapshoots on them. It's, you're spending 30 minutes, maybe, FaceTime with one of these candidates, and it boils down to what they've told you on a piece of paper. The difference here is we spend 3 years with these kids. So by the time it's time to make that job offer, we know them, they know us, and we're all on the same page. Everybody's lockstep, and so far, all the 13 we graduated, we still have. So, and that's a lot more than I can say for some of the ones that come through the standard hiring process.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a pretty good percentage. Best percentage I've ever had is about 85%, I believe. So
yeah, it's a challenge to maintain them. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is. It is. What's been the reception of your personnel in the organization?
I think Firefighter McGirt will be able to answer that for you a lot better. But I can tell you that from the day these kids walked into our training facility, they were embraced by, I think, all levels of this organization. It's, this is an expansion of your traditional Explorer program, but instead of them being here once a weekend during the summer, they're here every day. So, for our line personnel to be able to engage with them and teach them, our line people get it too, that they understand that, vacancies equals less time off, for the veteran. So the more we keep a full boat, the more vacation time's available, the more time off's available, the more training time's available. So they get it, they understand it, and they don't like turnover either, because they want to build their crews and their camaraderies and their station houses. So, the minute this program came out, there was so many of them that wanted to be a part, and so many of them that wanted to get, a part of the training. And I think, at least from what I've seen, and what I've heard just from talking with our graduates, they've been open arm, welcomed, into this organization. And I think even so from their first day here in high school. So I think it's, that they've become just a part of this organization now. And it's, it was a little, I think everybody was a little hands off at first, just because it's, the high school kids are here, so behave, watch what you say, watch what you do. But they're treated like firefighters now. They're treated like a part of this organization. I think our high schoolers appreciate that, and I think that our staff and our employees appreciate the fact that they expect to be treated like they're a part of this organization. And the fascinating thing is how fast they understand what that means. And they get the gravity of that their behavior, how they carry themselves, matters now. We provide them uniforms. So 2 days a week in high school, they're in their uniforms just like ROTC. So they have that sense of belonging, right? And one of the unique things I think we've seen is they become mentors and leaders now in their own schools, and people now are looking to them. So they're our best cheerleaders now moving forward.
Well, the return on investment of this program within your community has got to be, extremely high.
It is, and the crazy thing is, we have 7 high schools here in the county, and we started with 2. Basically pulling recruitment out of 2 of the high schools, and now it's, every high school wants in, that they want a part of it. They have kids in their schools that say, hey, how do I get into that program? How do I, do I have to change schools? What do I got to do? So it's, that's what we've spent the vast majority of this COVID year doing, is talking about how do we now expand this to all 7 high schools here in the county, and what is our capacity from an organization to be able to handle that load. Because once your program is fully loaded, you'll have two different grade levels, going through your process. So you're always going to have new rising juniors that are coming into fire, and rising juniors leaving fire and going into EMS. So, when you start looking at expanding capacity, we started with a maximum of 36. So we took 18 from each high school, and now we're looking at expanding that to 60. So, when you look at having 120 high schoolers on your campus every day, space starts to become a premium.
That's a school in and of itself.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Right?
It's a challenge, and just trying to make sure that, we can keep up with 120, high schoolers, because, therein lies itself a unique challenge that, for us, our instructors, we're not used to dealing with. We're used to dealing with our employees. They're adults. We can, the things we can say and do and all that are substantially different than when you have, 60 high school kids fall off a bus, and, you've got to teach them the same stuff. You just got to do it in a little bit different way. But one of the fascinating things that has come out of this is we've actually now started teaching our recruit classes the way we teach our high school classes, because we found that they learn better. And it's no knock on those recruits. Many of them are 1 year removed from high school anyway.
Yeah.
But we found the success rate of our high schoolers was far outpacing the success rate of our standard recruit classes. And, we would tell our standard recruit classes all the time, look, don't make me go get our high schoolers to show you how this is done, because they're outperforming you, every day, twice on Sunday. So it just, we've learned so much from them as they have from us. And it's changed the way that we teach fire and EMS here, at the county. And it's, like I said, it's not a knock. It works. So, and once we find something that works, and, our success rate starts going up on first time pass attempts, it's, nobody gave these kids a chance to pass the state hazmat exam, and 76% of them passed on the first try. So, which I think was blowing away, what the state average was first time hazmat. So, to have a bunch of
test.
to have a bunch of, 16 and 17-year-olds, pass the state hazmat test was, we took it and ran with it and was happy with it. So, if we can keep those numbers going, we'll be doing good.
So have you seen this program, because you said the state has adopted the curriculum, so has other agencies started to pick this up, and is it spreading across the state?
It is. I think we're up to our probably 5th school system now that we've met with and kind of walked through the process. Athens, Clarke County, which is, is where the University of Georgia is located. I met with their fire chief not too long ago, who used to work here and was one of my supervisors when I was in the fire marshal's office. She's, I guess, going on 18, 19, 20 years ago now. But yeah, we sat down with them. And for those, school systems that kind of border us but don't already have some level of this program in place that they could easily morph into, they're assessing ways, can they just send some of their kids here, to our facility and let us train them. So, that kind of brings some other unique hurdles into it with bringing, out of district and out of county kids, into the county. But, it's kind of like everything else. It's one of those challenge accepted moments, right? So, if I have kids that are willing, and can find the like-minded, folk that need to make those approvals happen, then, my job here is to bring the best and the brightest into this organization, and just because they happen to live across another county line, should not preclude them, if we can offer that program to them. So, my heart will always be with the Clayton County Public School System. I'm a product of it, graduated out of it. So I'm just living proof that, you can come out of the public school system and run a metropolitan fire and, EMS organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're bumping up on time, but is there anything, a final thought that you would like to leave for the audience today, the chiefs that are out there thinking about how can I do this?
I would think that the best thing I can tell them is don't let the thought and idea of it scare you. It can be a daunting task when you sit back and look at it. And I can't tell you how many fire chiefs I started a conversation with, and the first thing out of their mouth is, "We can't do that here." And I'm like, "Why?" Says who? We've got the roadmap. We can show you how to do it. You just got to get the like-minded people, in the room. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, do you enjoy constantly having to go look for qualified applicants? The answer to that is no. Then you got a public school system that's full of them. You just haven't tapped them yet. Yeah. So, I look at it as they got to go to school. They're going to be in school. I might as well train them while they're in there so that the day they graduate, I have a pool of 35 to 40, looking to, expand that to 60 kids that I'm picking from, that I've been with for the last 3 years. I know how they're trained. I know who trained them, and I know what their skill set is. Yeah. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. Is it, it's not an immediate payoff. So you can't go to your elected officials and sell this as, hey, if we do this, I'll be able to hire 30 at the end of the year. Doesn't happen. No. It depends on how you want to structure it. For agencies that don't do EMS, or don't have a need for EMS, you can do just a 1-year fire and have a 1-year pathway. We require all of our employees to be advanced EMTs, as well as firefighter. So the EMS is a necessary component for us because we're fire-based fire-based EMS, and we transport. So, but this program is not, it's not one size fits all. It can be customized to your needs and your agency's needs. And, if you're listening to this and you think, man, I wish we could do that here, you're halfway there. The only thing you got to do now is pick up the phone, give us a call, and we'll explain it to you. No matter whether you're in Georgia, Pennsylvania, California, you got a board of education, and you're going to have to start at the state level with your standards and training, or who governs your public safety in your area, and start having the conversation. The idea and the thought can be extrapolated across the country. It's just the nuances of how you get approvals may differ, but the thought, the concept, and more importantly, the payoff, not only for you as an administrator, but for your youth, is going to be tremendous. So just simply don't let the thought stop you from doing it. Just, pick up the phone, give us a call, and I assure you we can walk you through it over the phone.
Absolutely a win-win program. It's just exceptional. I appreciate the tenacity that you had to bring to the table to make this a reality for your organization, but I think also for the entirety of the fire service. It's just absolutely an outstanding program, and I'd like to congratulate you.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you giving the program the time, on this podcast to get it out there and understand what can be done. At the end of the day, it was about helping our organization recruit and retain quality. Say that again, quality, loyal, tenured employees. That's what it's about. If at the end of the day, hopefully I'm still around to shake the hands of this first group that graduates and retires, from Clayton County after 25 or 30 years. So, I may not be getting around as good as I am now ish, but that would make my day to see one of these young people complete the cycle. So here's hoping.
Well, we're going to come back to a second podcast with one of your recruits. And so we'll take a break for just a second, and we'll be back with part 2 to explore just a perspective from somebody that's went through the program.
Outstanding. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.